Join me today as we celebrate two incredible civil rights leaders in our American history. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching Yankee Stacking on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Today, the coin you see before you is not of Martin Luther King, but of another incredible African-American leader in our history, Booker T. Washington. And this coin celebrates an amazing life. Booker T. Washington was born a slave on a Virginia farm back in 1856. But Washington rose to become one of the most influential intellectuals of the late 19th century. And he became a teacher, and in fact, in 1881, he founded the Tuskegee Institute, a black school in Alabama devoted to training teachers. Washington was also behind the formation of the National Negro Business League 20 years later, and he served as an advisor to two presidents, Theodore Roosevelt and William Taft. He's recognized for his educational advancements and attempts to promote economic self-reliance among African Americans. Booker T. Washington is an amazing man, and I got this coin commemorating him from my grandfather. Let me bring it in a little bit closer. Hopefully I can sharpen this up. Isn't that beautiful? It's a 1946 half dollar, 90% silver. And let me show you the reverse. And I am wearing gloves. This is not a bullion coin. Let's see, I'll put this right down here. There we go. Oh, the reverse is really cool. Look at that. There we are. Booker T. Washington, Birthplace Memorial, From Slave Cabin to Hall of Fame, Franklin County, Virginia. You know, it is an amazing coin celebrating an amazing life, but so is today as we celebrate Martin Luther King Jr.'s incredible life. You know, I live in New Hampshire, and I'm sad to say that we were the last state to have the holiday in observance of King by name. And in fact, it didn't come about without a fight, actually, in the legislature. There were a lot of attempts to make it a reality back in 1979, even after President Ronald Reagan signed a bill making Martin Luther King Jr. Day a federal holiday in 1983. A lot of states held out, including my live free or die state. And in 1985, they tried again, and it failed. I don't know. I think it's partly due to our low African-American population in New Hampshire. I think it's roughly 1%. It's quite low. I know some people had problems against King's stand on the Vietnam War. But we got closer. In 1993, we approved Civil Rights Day. I remember that going through. And even then, there were opponents that said, you know, we shouldn't name the day after one person. The civil rights movement is bigger than one man. Okay, I get that. But we really still needed to honor this man, I believe. And in 1999, the bill finally passed, and we celebrated our first MLK Day in 2000. Now, whatever your view is on Martin Luther King, he was, without a doubt, the most pivotal person behind the civil rights movement. And his inspirational speeches, his non-violent protests, and I do mean non-violent, made a huge difference in slowly changing public opinion and securing a great deal of equality, largely not experienced beforehand. In fact, my father grew up in Georgia in abject poverty. And it was during the Jim Crow days. He was immersed in segregation and, of course, bigoted racism down south. African Americans were routinely and, well, nonchalantly called by the N-word. And he remembers an area of town he told me about that they called the N quarters. I mean, it was just normal. That was life. They looked at African American people as somehow subhuman and not worthy of the rights that they enjoy today. So, wow, it might have been understandable for my dad to have that kind of influence follow him up to New England, but that wasn't the case. My father fully embraced, both figuratively and literally, all of God's creation in an incredible, loving way, and he taught his kids to do the same. And it warms my heart to see my children have friends of color. They are practically colorblind in a lot of ways. They can't even comprehend the racism of the past. Now, do we still have a ways to go to reach that dream that Martin Luther King expressed during his famous speech? Yes. Do our African American brothers and sisters still experience racism? Yep. And while I strongly believe that the racism of yesteryear, back in Booker T. Washington's days, is largely abolished and really not the same, it still exists. A couple years ago, my wife and my 3 kids went down to Memphis to visit a friend, and we took time to visit the National Civil Rights Museum at the infamous Lorraine Motel. What we witnessed there was incredible. It moved us. It challenged us. It inspired us. By the way, that's the motel that Martin Luther King Jr. was shot. We went across the street and went up into the building where you could actually look out the window where James Earl Ray shot MLK. But it was just moving. And my children still need to help ensure that we have a nation where no one is judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. And I'm so glad to be able to do this small tribute to an incredible man, actually to 2 incredible men on Martin Luther King Jr.'s holiday. I hope you all have a great holiday, and I hope your day is A-OK.